Oh, hello again, everyone. This is my 1982 EXP Convertible. I just pulled the engine out of it last night, late last night. So that's why we're making a video early in the morning. It wasn't as easy as it was getting the engine out of my blue car. Mostly because this one had a lot of emissions crap on the backside of it still. Whereas my car, I had already went and removed some of that stuff. And then I had also removed the head off my blue car before I pulled the block out. Thinking that maybe all I had to do was the head gasket and then pull the pistons out and re-ring them. But had to replace all my bearings, so the entire block ended up coming out after the head did. But this one, I pulled the head and the engine out all together in one go. That took a little bit more time, mostly because you can see all those scratch marks on the inner fender inside the engine bay. That is where the main crank pulley was. So it was rubbing up against that when we were trying to get it out, because you have to take that main crank pulley off to get the engine out without the tranny. If you want the tranny out with the engine, you can probably pull both out the top or drop them out the bottom. But if you want the engine alone, you have to take that front pulley off. And like I said, the center of it is usually right here, right? That's about where you have, where the big bolt for it is. That's where they put it. So then, the only way to get it off is to drill a hole right about here-ish, somewhere in here. Drill a giant hole, and then you can put an impact gun on there, and then it pops right off. But no one had went and drilled a hole yet, so I had to do it a different way, and it took some work figuring it out because I have never done it before. My blue car always had a hole drilled in the side of it from someone else, and a few other of my EXPs are like that. But it's good that we were able to figure it out without taking a drill bit to it. So in the future I don't have to, but I'm thinking I'll drill a hole anyways, because you can see when you try pulling the motor out, no matter what, it scratches the subframe up pretty bad. And I'll have this, I'm removing every single piece out of here that's not welded to the body, so it can all be painted uniform with the rest of the car, because we do things right around here. But how I got the engine out was, I figured if I could move the whole thing over just a few inches, I could separate the trans, move the engine back over, because as long as you have about 2.5 inches to 3 inches between the tranny and the engine will come right out without any issue. So to make that space, I had to loosen up the bottom of that leading tranny mount, and I had to loosen up that bolt and nut on the rear tranny mount, so then this thing could travel over a little over an inch, which was almost enough to pull the engine out, but we couldn't get around it. That main pulley had to come off. It's the only part of the engine that sticks out this way a good inch and a quarter. So that had to come off. So what we did was we put a block of wood underneath the bell housing of the transmission, and we put a floor jack under that. It jacked that up some. We jacked the motor up some. We removed this motor mount with the engine still in here. So what you do is you undo, there's a bolt that goes through this hole. It's like a size 18, And then on the back side of this, there's a nut holding both of these, this top piece and the lower piece together. That one's also 18, so you stick an impactor up from the underside, and then top down with the impactor again, you get both those off. And then this guy lets go of the motor, so you'll want to make sure that you have your crane already hooked up to it. Keep it from dropping to the floor. And then you get this out. Like I said, you'll have your two tranny mounts undone, so it can slide back and forth a couple inches, which allows you to drop the engine and the tranny down as far as they can. Pull this guy up like that, up towards you, and then you can sneak it out like this while twisting it, because you gotta remember that you still have an engine in here, and then probably an air pump unless someone has removed it. So you gotta twist it some, roll it out, hugging the subframe as much as you can, and then the dude just pops right out. And I'll be replacing it, but I don't have a place to set it yet, so just stick it in that corner. It's not going anywhere. Once you do all of that, you can get your engine down further. So your engine and tranny can now go down as far as they can. And luckily the engine goes down just far enough for you to slide an impact socket right about here. It was right about somewhere in here. Slid it in, grabbed onto the nut. It's like size of 19, I'm pretty sure. Put it in there. Flings right off. You got that pulley off. Now you can slide the engine over, and with your trannies already slid over to the side, you get 3 to 4 inches here, which is plenty. That's more than enough. So then you can bring the entire engine out the top without any more hassle than what you already had. But now I know in the future that if I don't have that hole, I just have to slide the tranny over, leave it attached to the motor at that time, so then they move together as a group a little bit easier. And then once you get the pulley off, separate the two, engine comes out, and you're done. That turns my hour and 15-minute project into maybe a 50-minute ordeal, if even that, after you get rid of the air pump crap. And I'll have a video on removing the air pump system sometime real soon, because it was a pain in the rear, or they're a pain in the rear to have. And just by removing it, you can shed a lot of weight. Between that and rerouting your coolant lines, you can shed about 50 pounds. This is one of the coolant lines in questions. They mount it underneath the block, underneath the oil pan, and that's always nice. I like having my oil pan nice and clean. I don't want crap dingling off it, so reroute that, make it a lot prettier. But you can see that the rear main seal on the motor gave out at some point. It's covered out with oil just like it is in my blue car. Someone had already went and played around with the catalytic converter, but we're replacing that. This is getting a high output header, so then I have to change out the entire exhaust system, which is fine. I'm gonna have something custom that with better flow, modern catalytic converter, everything modern. Yeah. So call it quits for that. I'll strip the rest of the stuff out, and I'll have a video on getting these trannies out. Again, this is only for the 81, 82, 83 trannies, because they changed the mounts come 84. I think even 83 they changed the mounts. Possibly. I'd have to look at my cars and see, but I'll have it in the description. But yeah, stay tuned. Things are looking up.